Robert Ford. If a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it, goes the old cliche, does it make a sound? In Watertown for the past 40 years, there's been an unofficial corollary. Something goes on in Watertown, you might ask, if it's not in the press, did it really happen? Bob Ford graduated from Boston University in 1952, became the editor of the Watertown Sun. 7 years thereafter, he managed to convince William Dole of Dole Publishing that Watertown needed another weekly, and so in 1955, with Bob as the co-founder and editor, the Watertown Press was born. Bob Ford was at the helm of the Watertown Press for nearly 40 years. His efforts have left an indelible mark on this town through his comprehensive coverage of town affairs and his acute knowledge of local matters. He understood that events, no matter how small they seem, should be scrupulously reported. From town council battles to civic functions to Little League results to wedding announcements, it all ended up in the pages of the press, thanks to Bob Ford. But there was more to it than that. To this local focus, Bob added a broad global vision. He wrote about foreign policy long before it was fashionable for hometown editors to do so. When he wrote against the Vietnam War, one of the first editors in the nation to do so, he did it because he knew it was a national issue that mattered very much to local people. He knew the effect that this conflict was having on the community he cared about so much. His conscience, his compassion, and his pure, undiluted affection for the people of Watertown drove the press editorial policy for 37 years. In April of this year, Bob retired from his post as editor of the press. He was honored by a crowd of hundreds that featured representatives across the spectrum of Watertown life. As Sun columnist John Moxley noted, people who would gladly knife one another over a buffet table joined together for one evening to laud Bob Ford's life and work. The Hall claims a special privilege in honoring Bob Ford tonight. Bob was on the sidelines of too many Watertown High sporting events to remember. His accounts of those games, with the participants and their contributions meticulously noted for posterity, serve as a unifying force for the Watertown community, spurring town pride, keeping everyone in touch with their neighbor, their friend, their accomplishments. It didn't matter if they were a Hall of Fame caliber. Every athlete who played from the 1950s on gained recognition through Bob's effort and remembers the thrill of seeing their name and their feats in the newspaper for the first time. Bob still writes a column for the press, lending his voice of reason to sometime chaos of town life. He now gets to spend more time with what was always rightly his first love, his family. The State House resolution honoring Bob passed this spring proclaimed his retirement as a fitting occasion to bring tribute to his yeoman efforts over the last 40 years to bring an enlightened, balanced, and honorable view to reporting on events and people of Watertown and the world. Tonight, the Hall thinks it's an equally fitting occasion that we enshrine Bob Ford in the Watertown Hall of Fame.
I can't believe all the things, nice things people are saying about me. If I knew what this good all the years ago, I would have asked for much more money. You know? When I first came to Watertown to work for the Watertown Sun, Joe Zeno was the football coach for Watertown High. And it was my first introduction to Watertown, and it was such a spirited team. There was really great enthusiasm that Joe Zeno was able to instill in his players. And I think it was noted for their very good halfbacks, hard-running halfbacks. And through the years also, we remember the decades that John Barbetti served as coach, and the hotly contested games in the Middlesex League. They were always, Watertown always was competitive. They never was a pushover, and I'm very nervous. And during those years also, there were great hockey teams that were coached by Dick Emili, who is the head coach now at the University of New Hampshire. And I'll never forget the night that the Watertown team played at the Boston Garden. And the wonderful players, Joe Hosworth, Tom Johnson, Goldie Jack, Rio, the Cashin brothers, really great players. And then I think that the next kind of wave of excitement for Watertown has been provided by the girls hockey team. This string of state championships under Coach Eileen Donahue was really exciting. And through those years that I have been in Watertown, Since I'm a carpetbagger from Newton, I had a lot of help from 3 Watertown High School graduates. Louis DiOrio, who graduated from Watertown High School, covered football for me for about 25 years and did a fine job. And the infamous John Moxley began taking photos for me when he was in high school and continued to do that for about 20 years. And also Marty Gavin provided excellent photos of games and the teams. And I think that Daja Davidian, in his invocation, said what has always been important about Watertown to me. That there's a tremendous sense of community. And when you start to doubt whether that is fading away a little bit or not, you come to an event like this where people reborn again, where they see their friends they haven't seen for years, and we know that the spirit of community is still alive in Watertown. I thank the committee very much. I really